I've never met Mary. Can you point her out to me, by the way?
Oh, she's a beautiful jacket.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mary. I wanted to talk to you about your artwork if you have a moment. So, join me.
Right?
Yes.
Nice
Yes.
to see you again.
Good to see.
Interview.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yeah. So I talked to Bruno and I talked to Kamika, and I want to talk to you about your work as well. So, first of all, thanks for being part of the show. But do you want to talk about what the impetus was behind these three pieces?
Sure. I was wanting for a while to make some works on paper. I had been making sculptural works in graduate school that also incorporated photographs in sort of a collage-y way, where it was like a sculpture you would peek through and then it would have layers of images, so it looked like a three-dimensional collage. But I've been wanting to make some flat works for a while, so that was my impetus for the medium. But I also wanted to bring some of the sculptural materials and elements that I use to the flat works to embellish them, like the fake flowers and sequins and glitter. So that's
Oh, they come off the wall nicely. I'll say that. Like this one here, I like the little bit of the beaded curtain effect that's going on here. Did this work? Because I asked Kamika the same question I want to ask you. Did it change because of this space in any way? Working here, did that change the work, or was this fully realized before you walked in here?
No, it definitely wasn't fully realized, and it did change, I would say, because I was using silk screens to make certain elements of it, which then, I don't know, it was sort of it's different to like paint on a silk screen than it is to paint on a photograph, I guess. And sometimes I have a weird barrier with photographs where I'm like, it's the image and I don't want to destroy it. So it takes a little more, guts to get into it, where the silk screen, it feels like a print. It feels sort of like a drawing in that way. So the opportunity to have the studio and use silk screens to reproduce the image, I think definitely changed my interaction with some of them.
Well, that's interesting. So, in other words, the photograph to you, you think of as another artist's vision, and you don't want to wrench it necessarily, but then you can wrench your own silk screen.
Well, a lot of the photographs are mine, too.
So you're the artist. Why can't you wrench your own work?
That's kind of part of it, is that I got my BFA in photography not so long ago, but I always had this push and pull with it, where I felt like I never felt like making the photograph was the end for me, and it was never like quite satisfying enough. But at the same time, I feel a little precious about the images in that way. So this has been also a challenge for me to then like chop stuff up and get into it, and then go back into it again with the embellishing. I mean, even here in this with the flowers, like I really wanted to put more flowers on this, but then I was like, but I really like the pictures of the flowers too. So there is this weird push-pull where I love the images and I want to show them, but I also want to hide parts of them by using other materials.
So the image, I'm thinking, exists digitally. Couldn't you print out the image as it was and still have the image?
Yes.
I mean, is that
Yes.
different from the past when you
Yes.
had to go into a dark room and burn the image? And
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that also was, I think, part of the reason why the silk screens helped loosen me up, because then I just made like 5 of each of them, and then I didn't care if I was chopping it up and then ruined it or painted it a color that I hate, because then there was more. But yeah, there is like a looseness.
that brings me to another question. Let's step over here in front of the third image to ask this question. I love the chandelier, by the way, in this one. How do you know when it's done?
Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know. I mean, when it's time to hang the show, I guess. I was having that feeling a lot with these, because I hadn't really made embellished prints like this before, and I was feeling like I wanted to keep going, but I also want it to be sort of balanced, because I don't want it to be like everything's the same level of like complete embellishment, because then it's just a different kind of, then it's just like an embroidery or whatever. So It is hard to tell. I mean, I was trying to use like a certain amount of different kinds of materials to bring them in, but I was feeling like I could keep going.
You know, the other thing I'm getting from these is, including the sort of curtains on the side of each piece, these could be set designs. I mean, this could be for some fantastic stage work. So, I mean, is that something that interests you? Have you ever thought, I want to design, I want to do a whole stage. I want to take this and blow it up on a massive scale.
Yeah, I have thought about that a lot, especially because people always ask that about my work. But I also want there to be, it's important to me that there's like some sort of barrier where the viewer can't enter, and that this does feel like, even if it was bigger, that it's not immersive per se, that it's like a stage, you're looking at something that you can't get in, and that it's like a different kind of world than the one you're in.
Yeah. You can enter it, but be forewarned, in other words. Yeah. Let me ask you this question, because I asked Bruno this question too, about his background and the support that he had in his family when he figured out he wanted to make art his life. So did you have a supportive family? Did you have artists in your family? Did you have people who thought it was amusing, but it's not a job? Which one of those?
Yeah, my parents were really supportive about me wanting to be an artist and go to art school. I think they were a little confused when I got out of art school, and they were like, aren't you going to get a job in your field? And I was like, guys, I don't know if you really know what that entails. It's like, I'm not an engineer, but, and it's funny because I'm the oldest of a lot of kids, and so now as people are getting older and graduating and becoming like doctors and, jobs that are a little more maybe easy for my parents to understand, I feel, I don't know, I mean, there is a vibe that it's like, you have an alternative kind of life because
this is nothing for a person to do,
yeah, like,
to earn a living.
What are you doing? It's not making money.
What do they say when they see your artwork?
They love it, and they're all really supportive. And my mom actually, I consider her an artist. She makes like all kinds of things out of textiles, and she's a great weaver and sewer, and so she taught me a lot of stuff, but she never did that as her career, and it's only now that all the kids are graduated that she's like getting really into it and sort of taking it more seriously. And she always, so she's really, they're definitely supportive. I mean, my dad doesn't really get it, but he's like, love you.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Dad. So I want to finally ask about Guttenberg Arts and this place and how you discovered it and what you thought when you discovered it.
Well, actually, my husband discovered it, and he discovered it because I think it was posted on some article that was about like residencies that were not residencies that you go live at, that were sort of like for artists who still have a job and can't really take off a bunch of time to go, somewhere and stay there for months. And so I applied to it. I was like, it's close by, it looks cool facilities. And then when I came and interviewed, I was like, well, this place is great. The vibe is really great. Matt and Russ have like a really nice, supportive, chill vibe, and which like turned out to be true too during the residency, and we're like very available to help and stuff. And I feel really, it's funny, it's like a little haven because it's so close to the city, and yet,
There's that tension between wanting to tell everybody and wanting to tell nobody.
Totally.
I get that, because they are incredibly supportive here. They give you your space, but they also, you can learn a lot here as well because you're collaborating with other artists.
Yeah, definitely. And it's nice to have the facilities it's not like, everything in the city is like totally crowded, packed to the gills. So it's nice to be in a space that's not. It's been a really nice experience coming.
Yeah, we're thinking of the Brooklyn to Guttenberg shuttle. I think Matt even ran one at some point. I think he even ran people back and forth because people come here from Brooklyn and go, oh my God, it's paradise. Look at this place.
I mean, it's a huge difference, and it's been really nice to like come here. And I live in Harlem, and I have a car, so I would drive, which was super nice and a short commute. But because of parking and traffic, I would come super early and then leave by like 2 or 3. And it was just like no one was here, super quiet, beautiful light. I was like, oh, this is ideal.
This is it. This is it for me. Well, hopefully you'll be around more now. We'll see you a lot more. I appreciate you talking to me for just a little bit. I have to go back to Kamika and ask her a question that I forgot to ask. So, yeah, let me do that, and then I can enjoy myself for the rest of the night. It was enjoyable. No, I